Hi guys, how you doing? Here it is, Thursday, no makeup Thursday. Gotta love no makeup Thursday. Although my camera guy keeps telling me he's got to get rid of the shine off of my forehead, but he has a higher forehead than I do, so it's all good.
I do not.
What do we got this week? I have a giveaway. I always have a giveaway because I've got great sponsors. So this week I've got a great little set of Dynasty Micron brushes, a 5-brush set going out to somebody. Don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section. And if you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button so that you can see what other videos that we've got coming to you every week. We do 2. We have one on Thursday and we do one from our live class on Facebook on Saturday. That one goes up Saturday afternoon, so join us for that. If you don't watch my lives, come and join me on Tracy Moreau Live on Facebook. We run a free class every Saturday afternoon. And it's usually a lot of fun, lots of giggles, lots of questions, and we try to paint something really pretty and show you as much new technique and different ideas as we possibly can. Today I have a really fun one for you. We're going to do a phone stand. It will make a great little stocking stuffer for that anti-snow person in your family. I know we all have one. Some of us love snow, some of us not so much. Some would prefer it didn't come at all. So I've got a great little project for you today, and I think you're going to have a lot of fun. So let's get started. So this is our phone stand. It says, let it snow somewhere else. I think this is a really fun little project, and it's very simple. So I've already got it broken down, so we're going to get right to it. So I'm starting with just a plain phone stand. This is the backer of it, and I've put a piece of, actually 2 pieces of painter's tape across the center. Now this lines up with the image if you look here. So I've got the horizon line above the tape, and then I have the shore line below the tape. So we're going to add 2 colors to this. We're going to add Bahama Blue, which is this really pretty beachy blue all over the background. Comme ça. This is a fast workup. This project does not take long to do. And you don't really have to be super neat and tidy about it because we're going to do a little bit of cleanup towards the end. And you even get to get your fingers in the paint today. So, finger painting, yes. We're going to do a little finger painting today. So there we have, we get a base coat of the Bahama Blue, which is my favorite color, my favorite Americana color. And then we're going to do the sand, which is at the bottom of this, and the color that I chose for this one is khaki tan. This is an older color in the Decawart line. But if you don't have it, you can also use pebble or any kind of beige, dark beige color. Will work just fine. It doesn't even have to be opaque. If you see some of the wood grain showing through, that's okay. Water in my brush. A stain would work well for this too, don't you think? Yeah, just a, you know, sand colored, light colored stain instead of paint. That would look pretty cool.
It would.
Yeah. Okay, so there is that first step done. So we use khaki tan for the bottom and then that Bahama Blue up top. Now, fortunately for me, I did a little prep work ahead of time. So as you can see, we've got that Bahama Blue up here, the khaki tan down here. Here's our tape. So we're going to add a little bit of sky in here. I'm going to take a little bit of sandpaper, smooth this out a little. There we go. So we're going to put in a little bit of sky, and we're going to do that with Vintage Pink, which is sort of that dusty rose color right there. And I'm going to do this like a big float, nice big float. And I'm going to do it right along that tape line. And I'm going to let that color walk out so that I have pink going up into the sky. Just like so. Doesn't have to be perfect. I just want to get some pink in the sky. I'm going to dry that real quick. nothing gets hot fast. There we go. Now I have a really fun technique. Remember I said about finger painting? You're going to get your fingers wet in some water and you're going to pick up a little bit of warm white. And this is your clouds off in the distance. You need to have water on your finger to do this. And it's going to give you some nice fluffy clouds, but it's still going to let some of that pink show through. I want to soften that edge a little bit. There we go. And now we're ready to take that tape off because we got our clouds and everything in. Okay, remember what I said about acrylic tips and painter's tape? Acrylic tips, Scotch tape, acrylic tips, and packing tape. They were just never meant to work together. So, now we have this area in here that we need to turn into water. So we're going to, if I can get the tape open. Oh, good grief. Need to be Hercules to get that open. And again, acrylic tips and painter's tape. Seriously? There we go. So I'm going to run. I better check to see if that paint's dry. Not quite. I'm going to dry it.
We're past the 30-second mark, so you can curse.
No. I do that quietly. So now I'm going to back tape this, which means I'm going to tape on top of the clouds and right along that horizon line, like so. And I'm going to do the same thing to the beach, to that sand at the bottom. I don't want to match it up too closely because I like the little bit of overlap. It'll make things look nice in the end. So now we're going to, in order to do this water, we're going to double load this brush. And we're going to use two colors, one of which is Bahama Blue. So Bahama Blue, and the other color that I'm using is Jadeite Glass, which is a new color from Deckwork. And I'm going to put them so that I have the Jadeite on the tip of the brush and the Bahama Blue on the heel of the brush. And the Jadeite goes towards the beach. And I'm going to blend this back and forth, like so. And I'm going to blend until I get all of that color in there. Good grief, that does not want to work for me right now. There we go. So now I have that Jadeite down here and the Bahama Blue up at the top. And I've still got a little spot there that doesn't want to take paint. There we go. So now we have our water done. Now we have to take the tape off again. So now we have water that comes down to the beach. And we have water that comes up and meets the sky at the horizon. Not too bad. So we need to have a little bit of a horizon line back here. I'm going to do that with a liner and a little bit of that warm white. And just a little, oops, I got something stuck on my brush, okay. Just a little line on the horizon with that warm white. Nothing solid, I just kind of want it to indicate waves off in the distance. So it's not a solid line. And then we're going to continue to add a few little waves off in the distance, just with a few little lines like so. Just make sure that they're level so that your waves aren't going uphill. And we're going to grab that little angled shader that I like, and I'm going to tip load my angled shader with a little bit of warm white as if I was going to float, and I'm going to come along the bottom of this, along the beach, and I'm just going to put a rough little float so that it's not a perfectly straight line across that water, right at beach level. And that's going to give us that little bit of a wave that comes to the edge of the beach. And then, to give that wave a little more depth, a little height, I'm going to float underneath it with a little bit of asphaltum. Just there, underneath those little waves. And it's not a strong float, it's a fairly weak float. If you don't feel like floating that color in, you could actually use your little gel pen and put a very fine line in a few places underneath those little waves. There we go. So we have our sky done, we have our water done, and now it's time to start transferring the line drawing to the surface, which I have one already prepared. Simple, simple. So I put our palm tree in. This is just base coated with a little bit of raw sienna. And I'm going to shade my palm tree with a little bit of asphaltum, just to put a little shadow down one side of our tree, just like that. Now let's talk about that chair. Now I used my rigger to base coat this just with a little bit of warm white, but it needs to have a few little details added to it. Now I'm doing that with a little asphaltum, and I'm using my 15-aught, this is my Micron, the extra long detail liner. I really love this brush for this because you can create some really nice little details with very little effort. So I'm going to put in a few little shaded areas on my chair, just like so. And these are just lines. We're not looking for perfection. It's just to imply that there's some shape to this. I'll go down here. This is a fast and easy project. You don't have to be all that meticulous with the details. It's mostly implied anyhow, but it can be fun. I think if this design were larger, then absolutely you could do all kinds of fun things with the details, with shading and borders and whatnot. There'd be tons of things you could do with it. But at this point we don't have to. So I'm just about finished with this chair, just about. I'm going to put a nice shaded line across the top here, and another one here, and there's our chair. Now there's a great shadow underneath this chair. You could, again, can make it as detailed as you want or as little as you want. I personally prefer that it not be. Just keep it simple. Just fill in that shadow with a wash of asphaltum is all that's really needed. probably use a bigger brush for this, but since I've got it already in the asphaltum, I figured I'd just go with it. Easy peasy. It's just a shadow. Doesn't have to be too precise for this part. If you wanted to, you could, but again, this design is more for the implied appearance than anything. For a larger piece, I would concern myself with those fine details, but for this one, I'm not too worried. So there we have. We've got our shadow for our chair in. Clean that up a little bit. There we go. Got our shadow for our chair in. Their chair is painted. So now we have to look at doing this palm tree. And I have a specific method for doing this one. It's not your usual palm tree. This one's going to be done in 3 layers. And I'm going to start with the darkest layer first. And again, I'm using that 15-aught liner. If you're using, you could use a small round if you want to. I just happen to really like this liner for this. And this is just a series of little strokes. Just like that. So essentially little comma strokes. And you're going to put them on each of the branches like so. I have fun with this. I'm not too worried about the precision so much, because this is layer 1. So we're just getting a layer of those fronds in using that liner. You can use like a small round, will do the trick too. So we're just going to stroke that in real quick. So we're almost there with that first layer. Now the second layer I'm going to move into using a more opaque color, and that one is the matcha green. It's this really bright, love this green. It's a really bright one. And you're just going to overlap some of the darker areas. Paint's a little thick today. Oops. And again, I'm just filling in space with some of those on some of these palm fronds with that matcha green. Easy peasy. You can almost make yourself a margarita and paint these. And down to the last one, we're just going to fill this in a little bit. Now I'm going to take that matcha green, little puddle of it, and I'm going to mix that with a tiny bit of warm white. It's about a 1 to 2, so 1 part white to 2 parts matcha green. I'm just going to make a slightly lighter value of that matcha green, and this is where I'm going to take a little bit more time with the placement. I want this to act as a highlight, so just tucking them in a few places. just like that. It is a very simplistic method of doing palm trees, but it works. So now I have palm trees. We're going to take the end of a larger brush. I'm going to dip it into the asphaltum, and then I'm going to also dip it into the khaki tan, and I'm going to make 3 coconuts in the center of my tree. I'm going to take that asphaltum. You could do this with a with your black gel pen, or you can do it with black ink or black pen or black paint, sorry. But I'm going to use a little bit of asphaltum for this, and we're going to put a few birds in the sky. Just a couple. I'm going to put just a thin line down the center of my palm trees, just to connect all those leaves and fronds. And I'm just using a mixture of that lighter green that we made. I added a little bit more white to it just to bring it out a bit. Easy peasy. So now we're down to our lettering, and for that I'm going to use my number 0 rigger, and I'm going to thin out some warm white. Now, one of the things I like to do before I paint my lettering is to shade my lettering first. So I'm going to use a small angled shader, and the color I have here is called Mermaid's Tail, which is a brilliant teal. And I'm going to put a little bit of shading down the right side of each letter. Nothing significant, I'm just putting a little float. It'll be enough to lift that lettering off the surface, but it isn't going to be too obvious. There we go. That little bit of shading makes that lettering pop off that surface very nicely. There we go. So now we're going to start painting that lettering in. I do like this 0 rigger for this. That little rigger will easily fill those small spaces, but it still opens up enough to allow you to fill those bigger spaces too, but still gives you a nice fine point. I think this little rigger is on its last legs. It's looking a little scruffy. It's also painted a few things this year.
It's not staying as sharp as it usually is.
Well, it is, but it's just...
Can you sharpen it?
Needs a good cleaning. Maybe that'll do it. Needs a good cleaning. The surface may be a little on the rough side for this, but that's okay. I didn't sand this one enough. I'm going to turn this upside down. I always seem to start on the far right, and I just realized that I have wet coconuts in that palm tree. I was afraid I'd stick my finger in it. Ta-da! This lettering is easy. When you have the right brush, it's easy. Okay, and we're just about there. This one actually worked up really quick. So, let it snow somewhere else. Now I'm going to finish out this let it snow. The somewhere else down here, I just filled in with my black gel pen. You could use almost anything, even a Sharpie would do it if you wanted to. But I'm kind of partial to my gel pen, so that's what I'm going to use. Oh my goodness, I'm having trouble getting paint to stay thin. There we go. Let it snow somewhere else. And this little gel pen will do the trick quite nicely for the bottom half. You could use a liner or a detail liner or whatever you're comfortable with. I kind of like my gel pens. So there it is. This is a really quick.
You know, people are going to ask you why you write from left to right.
I know. It's
from
because
right to left, sorry.
It's just me.
I just noticed it.
Well, I'm not writing it down, I'm tracing it, so it's... There we go. So there we have it. There is our Let It Snow Somewhere Else phone stand. There you go, guys. That's an easy one. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to send me a message either via YouTube or through my website at www.tracymoreau.net. The surfaces for this piece are available on the website as well, and the pattern will be available first thing tomorrow morning. So that's it for this week, guys. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed, and join me on Saturday on Facebook for another live class. I will see you then. Mwah. Stay safe.